It began in silence, not a crash or cry, just the hush of something blooming behind my ribs, a tenderness that never asked to be let in. You arrived without fanfare, without pretense, carrying nothing but your gaze, and suddenly the ground beneath me forgot how to be solid. I hadn't prepared, hadn't armored my heart, hadn't dressed in strength. Love, in all its reckless bravery, stepped into the room wearing your voice. The world didn't shift, but I did. My thoughts, once orderly and resolute, now leaned in your direction, helplessly drawn to the mystery that lived in your smile. It wasn't the way the sun caught your lashes or the shape of your hands when you spoke. It was the presence of something I could never name, but instantly trusted. Love without warning isn't a storm, it's a whisper. It's waking up and realizing you've already fallen. No memory of when it began, only the aching beauty of knowing you never want it to end. I stood still, and somehow everything changed because you walked by. Each glance was a soft undoing, a gentle unraveling of the person I thought I had to be. You didn't even know, did you? The way your eyes found mine, like they belonged there, like they'd known 100 lifetimes of meeting in passing, always almost. I tried to hold steady, tried to keep the rhythm of a life I understood, but you turned even the silence between us into music. You didn't speak of love, you didn't need to. The way you stood near me, not touching, not reaching, but present, so achingly present, it taught my skin to remember warmth in a new language. I started seeing you in the pause between breaths, in the quiet that settles just before sleep. I wondered if you knew how deep you'd reached, how easily you'd rearranged the architecture of my world. Love without warning doesn't announce itself. It steals nothing, demands nothing. It just becomes. And I, once so certain of solitude, found myself wanting to stay where you were, even if it meant getting lost completely. We never planned it, never drew a map or traced a path, and yet somehow you became the place I always ended up. I didn't ask for forever, didn't even dare whisper it in my thoughts, but you made every moment feel like the first page of something infinite. I remember brushing past you in some crowded space, how my shoulder met yours, and for that second the world bent. That one touch, accidental and weightless, held a gravity I've never escaped. You made time stutter, you made my logic betray me. There was no grand confession, no wild kiss in the rain, just the way you looked at me as if I'd been carrying stars in my chest and didn't know it. You made me feel seen, not the version of me I show the world, but the quiet, trembling, unguarded me. Love without warning isn't a lightning bolt, it's a flicker, a warmth, a slow and certain fire that keeps growing. And in your nearness, I became brave enough to feel it fully. Even now, I can't find the moment it changed, when a passing affection bloomed into something far more feral and tender. It crept in slowly, like dusk rolling in on the edges of a sun-drenched day. I stopped noticing the clock when you spoke. I found myself listening not just to your words, but to the pauses between them, the thoughts you didn't say aloud. You became the gravity pulling at my orbit, the still point I never saw coming. I started building small rituals around you, remembering your favorite songs, anticipating the way you liked your tea, memorizing the rhythm of your laugh. Each small act was an offering, quiet and unspoken. I didn't say I loved you, not yet, but I lived it in gestures, in moments stitched with care. Love without warning is patient. It's not a declaration shouted into the sky. It's a whisper in the dark, a hand extended without needing to be held. You never asked me to fall, but you made me believe, for the first time, that falling might feel like flying. I tried to find the edges of what I felt for you, as if it could be mapped or measured, as if reason could contain it. But every attempt unraveled. Every boundary dissolved the moment I saw you smile. You held nothing back, not intentionally, but simply because you didn't know how to be anything but honest. And it disarmed me, broke through every defense I'd built to keep the world at a distance. You made it look so effortless, that kind of openness, like breathing. I wanted to live in that space with you, in the sunlight of your sincerity, in the shade of your quiet thoughts. I didn't recognize the version of me that longed so freely, that smiled without caution, but I liked her. She felt real. Love without warning doesn't shout. It listens, it watches, it becomes a sanctuary in the storm of daily life. You made me feel like I could be both strong and soft, like I didn't have to choose between protecting myself and loving you. You made room for both. We spoke of everything and nothing, and in those conversations I found parts of myself I hadn't met before. You never tried to fix me. You never asked for more than what I could give. But with you, I gave more without ever being asked. I found myself unraveling secrets I thought I'd buried, telling you stories I'd never spoken aloud. And you listened, truly listened, not with the intention to reply, but to understand. That is a kind of love, too. You gave me the gift of being understood. You never knew the walls you softened with your patience, the cracks you illuminated with a glance. I kept waiting for the catch, the shadow behind the light, but it never came. You were as true in your quiet as you were in your joy. That's what undid me. That's what made the fall inevitable. Love without warning doesn't ask for grand gestures. It lives in the small things, the way your hand hovered near mine, the way your presence felt like coming home. Time became different around you. It stretched and folded, wrapped itself in laughter and long pauses. There were nights I couldn't sleep, not because I was restless, but because I didn't want to miss the way you looked at the stars. You made the simplest things feel like a ritual, sipping tea, sharing silence, exchanging glances that held more meaning than 1,000 poems. I watched the way you moved through the world, kindly, with intention, and I realized I was witnessing something rare. Not just love, but grace, not just affection, but awe. I tried to hide it, this rising tide inside me. I smiled without letting it reach my eyes, kept conversations light. But love like this doesn't want to be hidden. It presses against the ribs, climbs up the throat, aches to be known. I was falling, and I didn't fight it. Not really, because somewhere deep inside me a voice whispered, this is what it means to be chosen without asking, to be seen without explanation, to be loved without warning. There was a moment, small and ordinary, when everything changed. You laughed, tossed your head back, and I felt the earth tilt. I thought, this is it. This is the moment I'll never recover from. Love had arrived quietly, and yet here it was, thunder in my chest. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. I knew, and maybe you did too, though we let the knowing live between us, unspoken. It was safer that way, or so we told ourselves. But love like this, love without warning, doesn't stay silent forever. It finds its way through the smallest cracks. I caught myself memorizing your silhouette against the morning light, the sound of your footsteps approaching. You had become a language I wanted to speak fluently, a world I wanted to explore endlessly. I still don't know how to explain it to anyone. How do you explain falling in love with someone's breath, someone's presence, someone's way of simply being? Maybe you don't, maybe you just love. And maybe that's enough. I never asked you to stay, never asked you to go. I lived in the in-between, hoping you would choose me without needing to be asked. Some nights I rehearsed the words I'd never say, others I just let the silence speak for me. You never pressed, that was your magic. You allowed space for truth to bloom without force. And slowly mine did. Not in dramatic declarations, but in the way I leaned closer when I laughed, in the way I remembered the smallest things you said, in the way I stopped looking for anything beyond what we had, because what we had was already everything. Love without warning isn't perfect. It's messy and fragile and breathtaking. It asks you to risk the comfort of solitude for the chaos of connection. But in that risk you find something holy. I didn't know it could be like this, soft and fierce at once. I didn't know someone could make me feel both held and free. But then again, you were never something I planned to love. You were simply meant to be. Even now, if someone asked me when I fell, I wouldn't have an answer. There was no before and after. There was only you and then everything that followed. The way you changed the shape of my dreams. The way you made me believe again in things I had once given up. Timing, fate, grace. I don't believe love is always loud. Sometimes it comes quietly. It stands beside you, steady and kind. And one day you look up and realize that every part of your soul has been leaning toward them. That's how it was with you. Not an explosion. A quiet revolution. A shift I never saw coming, but never wanted to stop. You didn't rescue me. You reminded me that I was worth choosing, worth knowing. You made love feel like a return to self, like a rediscovery. And if I never say all of this aloud, if the words stay tucked between my heartbeat and my breath, just know this, I loved you. Without warning, without reason, and without regret.